Yuichi, kneeling by a small grave with Yatsuha, declares his intention to become a veterinarian. Yatsuha looks on in surprise at the grave marked for Yu-chan. Yuichi makes this vow because he never wants to see Yatsuha cry ever again. Yuichi confidently promises to cure all of Yatsuha's pets. Confused, Yatsuha asks what a veterinarian is, while Yuichi excitedly explains that it's a doctor that cures animals. Yatsuha exclaims that his goal is amazing. He reaffirms his promise to her, telling her to just wait for him. Yatsuha agrees, her eyes shining with admiration. She gratefully thanks him with a hug. He was the person she adored, always inviting her to play games with him and his friends. He would even teach her how to catch bugs, showing off a large beetle to her and their friends. His classmates admire how smart he is. He was the person Yuichi cherished, and he wanted to be a veterinarian for her. But one day, Yatsuha broke the news that she was transferring to another school, shocking Yuichi. Yatsuha looks out the train window sadly. As her train departed, he ran alongside it, shouting her name and telling her to take care. He was the person she loved. As he watched her leave, he wished for her happiness, no matter how many years passed or how far apart they became. Years have passed, and a weary-looking Yuichi sits at his school desk. Yuichi is jolted from a dream of the past. A classmate approaches his desk. The classmate tells him it's his turn for cleaning duty, but Yuichi is still dazed. He seems confused about what is happening. The classmate gets angry and yells at him to clean the board, while Yuichi apologizes. As Yuichi walks to the front, a classmate calls him trash while others laugh. The other students continue to laugh and mock him with a cruel nickname. He returns to his desk to find it has been vandalized with cruel words like die and disappear. The school bell rings, signaling the end of class. He pulls out a flashcard with the word adapt written on it. He contemplates the word, trying to figure out how to adapt to his situation and make a decision. His classmates laugh at him as he walks by. He tries to endure their laughter and ridicule. He feels completely isolated and separated from everyone else. He opens his locker to find it stuffed with trash and a cruel note. He looks at the mess in disbelief. He tries to reassure himself that things are better now than they were in middle school. He holds his flashcards and resolves to keep doing his best. Clinging to his dream of becoming a veterinarian, Yuichi walks away from his trashed locker. He takes the train home. On the train, he looks over his excellent test scores. He stands on the train, holding his test paper. A message from his mother, Michiko, instructs him to bring dinner for 4. He senses she's in a bad mood and feels scared. He stops at a convenience store. He heads home with the food. His mother greets him at the door, welcoming him home. Yuichi steps into a messy house and quietly says he's home. His mother sits on the couch amidst the clutter, focused on her phone. She glares at her phone with a tense expression. The two eat their takeout dinner in a tense, palpable silence. Yuichi wants to hurry and finish eating quickly. He lets out a small sigh. His mother immediately confronts him, demanding to know why he sighed. His mother's face contorts with rage as she accuses him of blaming her and thinking she should be the one making dinner. A terrified Yuichi tries to deny it. She explodes, insisting that things haven't been easy for her either. She launches into a tirade about her own hardships, questioning why he dares to judge her. In a fit of rage, she throws her food, as Yuichi pleads for her not to be angry. She yells that she's lost her appetite because of him and that everything is his fault. Yuichi trembles, apologizing. He continues to apologize as he looks at the food scattered on the floor. He takes all the blame, worrying that she'll go hungry because of him. His mind reeling, he wonders what he was even apologizing for as the emotional pain hits him. His mother leaves the room. Yuichi retreats to his room. He collapses against his door. He crouches on the floor, clutching himself in agony. He's overwhelmed with despair. He forces himself up, muttering that he'll do his math homework. He sits down at his desk, defeated. He thinks to himself that fate can be cruel. He looks at old photographs of a happier life, reflecting on how everything changed in just a few years. People at school now see him as an enemy. His mother became scary. He feels that he has changed as well. But he knows there's something that hasn't changed and will remain forever. His dream is to become a veterinarian at Hokushin National University. He remembers the promise he made to Yatsuha, his first love. Even if painful things happen, he will keep trying his best for her. He endures being bullied, hurt, and betrayed. He keeps going because of her, even if he wants to die. Even though he wants to die, he must keep the promise he made to her. Even if everyone tells him to die, he will keep his promise to her. He tries to convince himself that it's fine for him to keep living. But the facade cracks. He breaks down, clutching his head in agony, unable to believe that it's truly fine. His mother's voice echoes in his mind, telling him not to use her as an excuse. The voices call him a disgusting dumbass and tell him to die. An imaginary Yatsuha appears, saying she's sure she doesn't care if he becomes a veterinarian anymore. She tells him he's changed, becoming glum and creepy. The cruelest voice, that of his imagined Yatsuha, tells him he should just die. Yuichi screams, clutching his head and begging Yatsuha to stop. He thinks that if even she feels that way, then maybe he should just. Utterly defeated by his inner demons, Yuichi collapses onto his desk, giving in to despair. Suddenly, his bedroom window slides open, and a cheerful voice calls out his name. It's Yatsuha, beaming at him as she says it's been a long time. Yuichi is completely stunned. He can't believe Yatsuha is really there. She asks who he thinks she is, and he mutters her name in disbelief. She explains that she sent him a letter announcing her visit, flustered that he didn't seem to get it. He finally stammers out her name. Yuichi watches in disbelief as Yatsuha crosses the roof from the neighboring building into his second-floor room. She explains that she just moved in next door today. She adds that jumping over was the fastest way to see him. Startled, Yuichi tells her how dangerous that was. She just laughs, telling him to come in and calling him kind. She pulls him into a warm hug, telling him how happy she is to finally see him again. Yuichi is still in shock. Yuichi is terrified, wondering if she's going to tell him to die, and confused about the letter she mentioned. To his surprise, she cheerfully presents him with a bag of chips as a moving gift, suggesting they eat them together. Yuichi is baffled by her actions. Yatsuha muses that the chips might be crushed from her jump over. He watches her, still confused. She playfully declares she'll be careful to avoid getting his room dirty and will open the chips gently. She kneels on the floor to open the bag. Before she can make a mess, Yuichi quickly takes the bag from her and she calls him a genius. She thanks him profusely, saying now she can eat without wasting any. She then insists he try one, claiming they taste weird. They sit on the floor and eat. Yuichi comments that the chips are sweet and she agrees they taste funny. He chuckles to himself. He finds her carefree attitude nostalgic. Feeling a shift inside him, he asks her to look at him. Yatsuha playfully sticks 2 chips in her mouth to make a duck bill. She asks him if it's cute. A genuine smile finally breaks through Yuichi's gloom, and he agrees that it is. She gasps in delight at his reaction. Yatsuha notices Yuichi's desk and asks if he was studying. She spots his guidebook for Hokushin National University, a school she knows is for very smart students. She's shocked to see he's still aiming to become a veterinarian. She's overjoyed that he remembered their promise and was still aiming for it. She becomes emotional, touched by his dedication. Overcome with emotion, Yatsuha lunges forward, declaring her love for him. She hugs him tightly, exclaiming that this part of him has never changed, no matter how many years have passed. She tells him again how much she loves him. Yuichi is completely overwhelmed by her embrace. He thinks it must be a lie. He struggles to accept that it's not a dream, feeling her warmth. Yatsuha tells him he's just like he was back then. She calls him kind, cute, and funny as she touches his cheek. He can only stare, still processing everything. She smiles happily at him. Looking at him with pure affection, Yatsuha tells Yuichi that she loves him a ton. Her heartfelt confession finally breaks through his emotional dam, and he begins to cry. He pulls her into a desperate hug. Clinging to her, Yuichi sobs with overwhelming relief, telling her he's so glad that he is still alive. Yatsuha holds him close, gently stroking his hair and telling him it's okay. She reassures him that everything is going to be okay from now on. Later, Yatsuha apologizes for having fallen asleep. She tells him not to worry, noting how late it is. As she heads for the door, she cheerfully calls out an apology to Yuichi's mom, who looks up in shock. She cheerfully wishes good night to Yuichi's sister, who looks on in confusion. She then wishes good night to his dad, who looks equally bewildered. She waves goodbye, saying she'll see him later. As she steps out, her bright demeanor vanishes. She turns back to look at Yuichi and his family, her expression hardening as a single chilling thought crosses her mind: murderers. Her face is a mask of cold fury, a stark and terrifying contrast to the cheerful girl who was there just moments before. The word echoes in her mind as she observes Yuichi's family, branding them with her silent accusation. Her condemnation isn't limited to his family. She also pictures his bullies, extending her blame to them as well. She blames God too. She blames everyone and everything that made Yuichi want to die. Yuichi asks if she said something. She immediately reverts to her cheerful self, saying it was nothing. But inwardly, she thinks about his cruel destiny. She makes a new vow. This time she will kill it. Yatsuha thanks Yuichi for walking her home. She waves a final, bright goodbye, promising to see him tomorrow. She is the four-leaf clover of determination, ready to fight against fate. He dreams of the girl from his childhood, Yatsuha, who had transferred away, welcoming him with open arms. He wakes up in his bed, the dream fading into the morning light. But sober reality brings a grim thought: he shouldn't allow himself to be so happy about it. His classmates ask if he is okay, noting that he does not look well, a fleeting kindness he knows won't last. He remembers his former friends walking away, complaining that talking to him is depressing. Another memory surfaces of a friend, telling him he's become a boring person. The thought causes him to clench his fist in anguish. He imagines that Yatsuha, too, would eventually become cold towards him. In his nightmare, a hollow-eyed Yatsuha tells him he should just die. Yuichi wakes with a terrified gasp. He tries to settle back down, but the nightmare lingers. The clock reads 4:12 a.m. As if summoned from his dreams, a vibrant Yatsuha appears, calling his name and wishing him a good morning. Yuichi stares back, his expression a mixture of exhaustion and disbelief. He is completely taken aback to find her on top of him and asks how she got there. She cheerfully explains that she snuck through the window again. She explains with a giggle that she just wanted to stick close to him, pulling him into a hug. She quickly jumps off, suddenly flustered and apologizing in case she was too heavy. She looks at him, blushing, and tells him that seeing him again makes her so happy. Yuichi is silent, still trying to understand what is happening. He finally speaks, asking about her clothes, and she asks if her uniform suits her. She excitedly reveals that starting today, she's going to the same school as him, and they'll be together all day long. Yuichi, flustered, tells her he'll wait outside while she changes, before realizing he is the one who needs to get dressed. He quickly closes the door to change. When he emerges, she tells him his uniform looks cool. She then eagerly asks if she can hug him. Without waiting for a reply, she throws her arms around him. Yuichi is left blushing and overwhelmed by the sudden affection. His mind flashes back to his nightmare, terrified that she might change and turn on him soon. But seeing her genuine, happy smile gives him pause. He holds her and thinks to himself that if it's just for a little while, it will be fine. Suddenly, a voice calls his name and he looks up in shock. He stammers in fear, recognizing his mother. His mother stands at the top of the stairs, her hair covering her face. Her expression is terrifying. Atsu remembers that Yatsuha used to come over to their house. Yatsuha cheerfully replies that it's been a while, and she has something to talk about with Yuichi. His mother cuts her off, bluntly telling her to get out. Yatsuha immediately agrees, telling Yuichi she understands. She grabs her bag and dashes out, calling a cheerful goodbye to Yuichi. Outside the gate, her cheerful expression disappears, replaced by one of cold determination. She thinks to herself that she won't let his mother show that side of herself to Yuichi. She walks away with resolve. Yatsuha stands in the doorway of the messy kitchen. Atsu, her face hidden by her hair, addresses her son, asking if he's angry about yesterday. Yuichi is visibly distressed by the confrontation. His mother explains that she was really tired yesterday. She continues, saying her mental state is unstable and she's stressed out every day. She demands to know if he understands, claiming it's not her fault. She gets angry despite trying her best. Frightened, Yuichi quickly agrees that it's okay and he gets it. His mother screams that he doesn't understand anything. She accuses him of planning to abandon her. She burns a photo over the stove, yelling that he's going to get a girlfriend, get married and live. Yatsuha watches silently as Atsu claims this is why he brought her over. Atsu shrieks that his actions have made her feel anxious. In the midst of her yelling, the fire alarm begins to beep loudly. Yuichi looks around in confusion, asking what's happening and if there's a fire. She holds up a bloody knife, asking why he left. Showing her wounded arm, she says she did this again because Yuichi made her feel anxious. She falls to her knees, pleading with him not to leave and to apologize like usual. The scene returns to the present, with the alarm still blaring. Yuichi stands confused in the kitchen. Yatsuha calls out to him from the doorway. Yatsuha peeks in, asking what the sound was and if he is okay. Yuichi explains that it seems to be a malfunction, and Yatsuha expresses her relief. She then remembers that she accidentally took Yuichi's bag. She then sheepishly reveals that she also took his shoes. With everything sorted, she happily tells him it's time to go to school. Yuichi looks on, still shaken from the morning's events. She presents his shoes to him. Yatsuha places his shoes down for him, and Yuichi agrees to go, thinking she's cute. Inside, his mother's foot twitches nervously. She stands alone at the kitchen table. She holds the knife, thinking that when Yuichi comes back, she will show him her wounds. She believes this will make him understand her pain and ensure he won't abandon her, because family will always be together. She then notices something on the table. It is the burnt family photograph, and she wonders what it is. The image triggers a traumatic memory, causing her to cry out in horror. She drops the knife in shock. Far from the house, Yuichi and Yatsuha walk down the street together. Yatsuha is excited to be going to Yuichi's school. Yuichi nervously pulls out a small stack of flashcards. Yatsuha watches him, surprised. He apologizes, explaining it's a habit, but she tells him it's okay. She thinks it's because he wants to be a veterinarian and tells him that makes her happy. She then asks him seriously if he really wants to become a veterinarian. She tells him that if he finds anything else he wants to be, that takes priority. He confirms that he still wants to become a veterinarian. She happily tells him she has a dog now, and him becoming a vet would give her peace of mind. She shows him a picture of her cute dog on her phone. She laughs, saying her dog loves to play all the time. She offers him some breakfast she made, and he comments on how cute it is. As they continue on their way, Yuichi's expression becomes grim. They walk towards the entrance of the train station. A wave of fear washes over Yuichi. He begins to tremble as they descend the stairs. He's scared, hoping he won't meet them today. He spots the people he went to middle school with. Seeing his reaction, Yatsuha's expression becomes sharp and determined. Aboard the train, Yuichi is overcome with anxiety, his face contorted in distress. He desperately hopes not to encounter his former classmates from middle school, the source of so much pain. Beside him, Yatsuha observes his silent turmoil. Yuichi tries to reassure himself, thinking that even if they see him, they'll likely just laugh at him. He views himself as an old, uninteresting toy to them. Unbeknownst to him, the group of bullies is on the same train car, and their attention is drawn to Yatsuha. The bullies' voices trigger a flood of traumatic memories for Yuichi. He recalls them tormenting him, forcing a frog towards his mouth while others cheered, a cruel spectacle of his past suffering. The memories of being told to die overwhelm him. He begins to hyperventilate on the train, feeling a wave of nausea. He's terrified, clutching his chest. Yatsuha watches his distress with a look of concern. As Yatsuha's expression hardens with determination, the bullies finally spot their target. One of them points directly at Yuichi, confirming his identity to the others. Just as the bullies recognize him, Yatsuha suddenly throws her arms around Yuichi in a tight hug. The bullies are completely bewildered by the unexpected display. She cheerfully exclaims how warm he is, leaving Yuichi stunned. Still embracing him, Yatsuha asks to put her hands inside his jacket to warm up. Before a flustered Yuichi can respond, she opens her own jacket, inviting him to do the same. He hesitates, unsure of what to do. Yuichi tentatively places his hands inside her jacket, resting them on her back, while the bullies watch in confusion. Feeling Yatsuha's body temperature, Yuichi finds a sense of calm wash over him. She squeezes him, asking if it feels warm, and he quietly agrees. The bullies are shocked, wondering aloud if she is seriously his girlfriend. While his friends express their disbelief, the blonde bully glares at the pair. He's annoyed at what he perceives as Yuichi's arrogance. Seeing this, Yatsuha tells Yuichi to get off at the next stop with her. As Yuichi and Yatsuha exit the train, the bullies decide to follow. One of them pulls up a humiliating video of Yuichi from the past on his phone. The blonde bully takes the phone, planning to show the video to Yatsuha. On the platform, Yatsuha glances back with a grim expression, fully aware they are being followed. As they walk, a discount coupon flutters out of her bag and lands on the ground. The bullies are momentarily distracted when one remembers he forgot to submit his work shift. Meanwhile, Yatsuha checks a text confirming part of her plan is in motion. She then creates a diversion, asking Yuichi about a textbook. Feigning clumsiness, Yatsuha drops a small toy bus from her bag which Yuichi catches. She remarks on how cute it is and he agrees. She then carefully places the toy on the platform, just inches from the yellow warning line. The blonde bully finally confronts them. Yuichi is startled by his sudden appearance. He approaches with a smirk, saying it's been a long time. He reminds Yuichi that they're friends and demands a greeting. Mustering his courage, Yuichi grabs Yatsuha and pulls her behind him for protection. He tells the bully to stop, insisting she has nothing to do with their history. The bully scoffs, calling him disgusting and telling him not to act cool. The bully's rage escalates as he calls Yuichi a hypocrite he wants to kill. From behind Yuichi, Yatsuha calmly asks the bully if he's jealous. The question leaves the bully momentarily speechless. She then praises Yuichi as a cool hero, both in the past and now. Yatsuha continues to list Yuichi's positive traits, calling him reliable, smart and good at sports, and even mentioning his cute side. She tells the bully she can understand his jealousy, while Yuichi begs her to stop. The bully is stunned into silence by her words. Her words have the opposite of a calming effect, and the bully screams in denial about being jealous. Enraged, he calls Yuichi a disgusting piece of shit and swings his phone, intending to strike him. As he lunges forward, his foot lands squarely on the toy bus Yatsuha had strategically placed. He instantly loses his balance, slipping and flying forward across the platform. The bully is stunned as he falls. He tumbles helplessly toward the tracks. His phone flies from his grasp and clatters onto the rails below as an announcement warns of an arriving train. The train rushes into the station as station staff yell for him to get down. The bully looks on in terror. The force of the passing train sends him sprawling onto the platform. He watches in horror as the train speeds by. It crushes his phone on the tracks. He collapses onto the platform, panting and trembling in shock from his near-death experience. Amidst the commotion, other passengers wonder what happened. Yuichi, still shaken, asks Yatsuha what just happened, but she simply feigns ignorance. The incident, however, was part of a carefully orchestrated plan. At the station, an announcement declares a brief stop for a track inspection. Murmurs spread through the crowd as word gets out that someone fell onto the tracks. Yuichi looks on in shock at the scene unfolding on the platform. The bully who fell is now safe but weeping in terror. Yuichi approaches and asks if he is okay. Remembering the cruel taunts he once endured from this very person, Yuichi watches him. The bully stammers that he thought he was going to die. Yuichi is taken aback, finding it hard to believe that his tormentor could show such fear. He thinks to himself how surprised he is, because the bully is always so scary. The memory of how the bully's mere presence used to make him tremble violently is still fresh in his mind. Watching his former bully's distress, Yuichi feels a surprising pang of sympathy. His thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a loud exclamation from a nearby phone, jolting him back to the present. Yuichi turns to see a girl with a face mask excitedly live-streaming the entire incident on her phone. He is confused as she exclaims that the event has turned into an insane livestream. The streamer gleefully watches the live chat on her phone as viewers mock the fallen bully. The chat describes how he tripped while trying to attack an introverted couple and almost died. She finds the whole ordeal hilarious. The streamer explains she was originally tipped off about a different story, but stumbled upon this scene by chance. She marvels at her luck for catching such a crazy event on camera. The bully on the ground realizes he is being filmed live and gasps in shock. Enraged at being filmed, the bully Ito lunges at the streamer demanding she stop. A friend tries to stop Ito while Yuichi suggests they should leave. Yatsuha agrees that it's getting scary and they walk away. Yuichi looks shaken by the event. As they leave, Yatsuha takes Yuichi's trembling hand. He tries to put on a brave face, insisting he's fine and not scared, and she says she's fine too. Her expression reveals a deeper resolve. He agrees and they walk away together. Yatsuha turns to Yuichi with a beaming smile, genuinely glad. Meanwhile, viewers on the livestream have identified the bully's school uniform. Having heard his name, Ito, the online mob prepares to dox him. Ito's social media account is quickly found, showing photos of him with his friends. His full name, school, and even his father's workplace are posted in the chat. Commenters coldly declare that his life is over. The hateful comments escalate, with some saying people like him should be pushed until they die. Yuichi reflects on his life, remembering he's been bullied since middle school. He knows the presence of his tormentors was the obvious cause. He doesn't understand why it continued in high school, since almost no one from his middle school is there. He remembers the hateful messages scrawled on his desk from the very first day of school. He recalls the sound of his classmates' laughter. Just as the depressing thoughts consume him, Yatsuha's cheerful voice cuts through the gloom, calling his name. Snapping him out of his dark thoughts, Yatsuha excitedly points to a patch of clovers. She tells him about something she saw in a drama and wants to try it. She begins to fashion a clover into a ring. Yatsuha places the newly made clover ring on Yuichi's finger, admiring how lovely it is. She confidently declares that this will surely bring happiness to Yuichi. He seems unsure, asking if she really thinks so. She reaffirms her belief without hesitation. Yatsuha runs ahead joyfully, declaring how happy she is and promising to make Yuichi's school life wonderful. He quietly agrees. Watching her, a glimmer of hope appears on Yuichi's face. She suddenly stops, her cheerful demeanor shifting to one of serious contemplation, repeating her promise as a question. Her gaze falls to the clover-themed watch on her wrist. Her determination solidifies. With a bright smile, she resolves to have fun with Yuichi while also keeping up with her studies. Yuichi takes a hesitant step towards the school building, his face a mask of anxiety as he clutches a small four-leaf clover. Yatsuha waves goodbye, explaining she needs to handle her transfer paperwork at the office and will see him later. Yuichi's face is etched with worry as he continues on alone. He opens his locker to find it overflowing with garbage, a familiar and disheartening sight. As Yuichi walks down the hall, he notices a group of students chuckling near the classroom. The boys whisper among themselves, one confirming he's here, while another asks who targeted him this time. A speech bubble reveals his textbooks have been messed up, showing them discarded in a toilet. Surrounded by the laughter and jeers of his classmates, Yuichi looks utterly dejected. The environment feels suffocating to him. He walks through the classroom as his peers continue to laugh at his expense. He sits down and opens his desk with a click. A small folded clover flutters from his hand as he reacts to what he finds inside. He sees the razor blade, a clear sign of another setup. He recognizes the trap, realizing with dismay that his bullies have set him up once more. Holding the clover, he thinks to himself that at least he didn't get physically hurt. In his mind's eye, Yatsuha's smiling face appears, brightly telling him that lots of happiness will come to him. The peaceful moment is shattered by the sound of the classroom door bursting open. It's Yatsuha, who has just burst into the room with a cheerful greeting for everyone. The entire class, including a stunned Yuichi, stares as murmurs ripple through the room. The teacher quiets the class to introduce the new transfer student. Yatsuha beams at her new classmates, happily introducing herself. The students are immediately taken with her, commenting on her cuteness. The class continues to whisper excitedly, while Yuichi watches in disbelief. He believes she'll have no trouble making friends. But he contrasts her bright future with his own grim reality. Yatsuha's face lights up as she sees him, and she enthusiastically calls out his name. Overjoyed, Yatsuha celebrates being in the same class as him. She runs to his desk and gives him a huge, heartfelt hug, exclaiming that it's been a while and she's missed him. The other students are aghast, questioning what Yatsuha is doing. Yuichi flinches under their intense, scary glares, wondering why she's with him. Yatsuha pats his head reassuringly and declares to the class that they are childhood friends and she has always loved Yuichi. She tightens her embrace, calling him the most important person in the world and the most precious person to her. The students can only stare in disbelief, completely confused by the situation. Seeing his ruined books, Yatsuha insists they share her textbook instead. She then bangs on the desk of the boy next to Yuichi, demanding he switch seats with her, much to his surprise. Yuichi is overwhelmed, thinking it's a miracle to be sitting so close to her, even during class. After staring at him for a moment, Yatsuha gently takes hold of his hand. She interlaces her fingers with his under the desk. Yuichi, blushing, tries to pull away, saying he needs to listen to the class, but she apologizes and holds on. She leans in close and whispers that she's just incredibly happy. Blushing profoundly, Yuichi can only manage a quiet agreement. Other students look over from their desks, whispering and questioning what they are seeing. An irritated student complains to his friend that his brain can't keep up with what he's seeing. A student angrily confronts one of the bullies. The bully retorts, accusing the other student of being forced to watch something disgusting during class. The students continue to react, with one remarking he couldn't say such things to a girl. Another student quietly admits that it must be nice, and that he wants a girlfriend like that too. During a break, Yuichi and Yatsuha sit together on a bench, a far cry from his usual lonely school days. A menacing hand with sharp nails scrapes against glass, creating a jarring squeak. The scene ends with Yuichi looking horrified as the narration states that another distorted shadow now looms over the school. On their way to school, Yatsuha is bubbling with excitement, expressing how much fun she's having. Yuichi watches her dance and twirl, a small smile on his face. She suddenly stops and asks what's wrong, but Yuichi just thinks about how cute she is. Overhearing him, a delighted Yatsuha exclaims that she's so happy, and that he's cute too. Leaning in close, Yatsuha tells Yuichi he's the cutest in the world, as he bashfully denies it. She waves a cheerful goodbye as she enters her house. Yuichi stands alone, watching her go before turning towards his own home. His cheerful expression fades, replaced by one of anxiety and dread. Yuichi cautiously enters his house and quietly announces that he's home. He calls out, asking about dinner. His mother, looking exhausted, smiles faintly and says she bought groceries that he likes. She apologizes, explaining that the trip to the supermarket was tough because it was so crowded. Concerned, Yuichi asks if it's a good day for her, then says he'll go change his clothes. He freezes in shock upon seeing a family photo where the other figures have been burned out, leaving only him. Looking at the desecrated photograph, his mother wonders if Yuichi was responsible. She questions if it's another fit of hysteria, but dismisses the thought. Clutching her scarred arm, she murmurs that people who worry about her tend to disappear. At the table, a terrified Yuichi thinks to himself that he doesn't want that to happen. His mother's voice calling his name makes him jump in fear. His mother gently asks if he's feeling stressed. She suggests that if he's feeling anxious about school, he should get it treated soon. Yuichi's mind flashes to images of bullying and self-harm, the true sources of his stress. He frantically insists that he's fine, especially in comparison to his mother. While eating, Yuichi reflects that today was a good day. The memory of Yatsuha's radiant smile brings him comfort. He doesn't know for sure what the future holds. But for the first time in a while, he feels that he might be okay. He thinks of Yatsuha, wondering since when he started feeling this way. His mother says she doesn't know, but seems to sense the reason for his change in mood. She quietly accepts his newfound hope. Getting into bed, Yuichi reassures himself that from now on, Yatsuha will be here. He believes that with Yatsuha by his side, he might not be so scared of the bad things. He closes his eyes, trying to hold on to that feeling. But his hope falters as he concludes that he will probably be hated again soon. In his nightmare, Yuichi is haunted by accusations of being a hated loser and a hypocrite, with voices screaming at him to die. As the internal screams continue, his phone chimes, cutting through the nightmare. He sees 2 messages from Yatsuha asking if he is awake and if she can call. Still shaken, he picks up the phone. Startled, Yuichi answers the call from Yatsuha. She reminds him to talk quietly since it's late at night. Wiping away tears, Yuichi tells her he can hear her. Yatsuha explains that she can't sleep because she's too excited to see him tomorrow. She asks him to talk with her until she can sleep. She muses that listening to his voice might help her fall asleep easier. Then she changes her mind, thinking she might be too happy to sleep at all. Yuichi sighs at her indecisiveness as she declares they should just talk. Their late-night talk helps Yuichi fall into a peaceful sleep. Yatsuha whispers a final goodnight to him over the phone. She wishes him sweet dreams and confesses her love before ending the call. With a gentle smile, Yatsuha drifts off to sleep as well. Yatsuha sits alone in a dark space, lost in a dream. In her dream, she sees Yuichi. She's overjoyed, exclaiming that she can see him again. Suddenly, her happy dream morphs into a nightmare, and she begins to sob. She watches in horror as Yuichi turns his back to her. Yatsuha desperately tries to tell Yuichi that this is wrong, begging him not to go. She screams at him to stop, her voice filled with desperation. She watches in absolute terror as he puts the noose around his neck, crying his name. The rope creaks as it goes taut, and Yatsuha lets out a final horrified scream. Yatsuha jolts awake in her bed, screaming. Her face is a mask of pure terror from the nightmare she just experienced. The shock sends her into a fit of coughing as she tries to catch her breath. Tears stream down her face as she whispers that she's sorry. Hunched over in despair, she whispers Yuichi's name, her own trauma now brought to the surface. Walking home from school, Yatsuha cheerfully promises Yuichi she'll bring an even tastier bento tomorrow. In response, he squeezes her hand, telling her he's looking forward to it. Yatsuha beams at his words, while Yuichi looks on. Yuichi reflects that Yatsuha has been particularly affectionate all day, from hugging him to squeezing his hand. He remembers she's always had a habit of hugging him, even when they were children. Yatsuha excitedly points out Shirakawa Acorn Park, and Yuichi thinks to himself how cute she is. She remarks on how nostalgic the park is, a place they used to play a lot. Her foot bangs against the pavement as she loses her balance. Distracted by her excitement, Yatsuha staggers forward. Yuichi reacts instantly, catching her from behind and pulling her into a tight embrace to stop her fall. Yatsuha blushes furiously in Yuichi's arms. Concerned, he asks if she is okay. Fearing he might think she disliked the hug, she quickly clarifies that she's actually super happy. Still flustered, Yatsuha explains that she was so surprised because she's not used to being the one who gets hugged. She admits it was her first time and her heart wasn't ready. She panics, telling Yuichi she needs a moment to calm down. Yuichi finds her reaction surprising. He lets out a small chuckle at her adorable panic. Yuichi apologizes for startling her, privately thinking she's incredibly cute, while Yatsuha thanks him for his help. She gives him a thank you hug, wishing that things could stay this way. They continue their walk home, holding hands, with Yatsuha hoping this happiness will last both tomorrow and into the future. A calm morning begins. Yuichi sits up in bed, feeling refreshed for the first time in a while. His phone pings with a new message. It's a cheerful text from Yatsuha, asking to go to school together again. He smiles warmly while looking at his phone. He gets out of bed, enjoying the bright feeling of the morning. He slides open his curtains to look outside. He is surprised to find Yatsuha already waiting for him. However, Yatsuha stands outside with a somber and worried expression. Seeing this from his window, Yuichi is startled. He quickly rushes towards the door. The moment he opens the door, Yatsuha's expression instantly brightens as she gives him a cheerful good morning. She throws her arms around him in an enthusiastic hug, exclaiming how happy she is. She then offers him a bento box, suggesting they eat the breakfast she made while they walk. Remembering her earlier expression, Yuichi asks Yatsuha if she's okay, but she cheerfully replies that making breakfast was fun. He notices that one of the rice bowls has sausages in it. Seeing her bright smile, he wonders if her previous sad look was just his imagination. She takes his hand, and they continue on their way. Yuichi flinches upon seeing another student at the station. He realizes the person he feared most isn't around. He breathes a sigh of relief, reassuring himself that he's okay now. Yatsuha smiles at Yuichi, who reassures her that he's okay. They continue on their way together. Suddenly, a voice calls out to them. An energetic boy hops towards them with a cheerful greeting. He waves, calling out to both Yatsuha and Yuichi. Yuichi looks surprised, while Yatsuha quietly acknowledges the boy. Yatsuha nervously squeezes the strap of her bag. The boy, Yamato, continues to greet them enthusiastically. Yamato happily points out to Yatsuha that it's been a long time since they last saw each other in elementary school. Yatsuha feigns ignorance, asking who he is. Yamato thinks she is teasing him. He proudly introduces himself as Yamato and reminds her they were good friends back in elementary school. He asks her to call him Yamato, just like she did back then. Yamato gives a thumbs up, saying that since they've finally met again, they should get along. Yatsuha quietly agrees. He turns to Yuichi, happy that his friend who transferred has company. Yuichi agrees, thinking it's great for him. Yamato confesses he'd always been worried about Yuichi, who is always alone and going through tough times at school. He admits that as a childhood friend, he feels he doesn't have the right to say much. He explains that he was too busy with the student council to be there for him. Yuichi tries to reassure him. Yuichi genuinely tells Yamato that it made him happy whenever he came to talk to him. He sincerely thanks him. Yamato gets embarrassed by the honest thanks and tells him to stop. Yatsuha watches their interaction with a shadowed expression. Suddenly, Yatsuha reaches out and grabs Yamato's arm. She gasps as she does so. Both boys are surprised by her action. Yamato stammers, asking what's going on. Yatsuha claims there was a bug on him that she needed to take off, but Yamato complains her force felt more like annihilation. She apologizes, and he tells her to cut him some slack. Yamato then announces he has student council business and runs off ahead. As Yamato leaves, Yuichi calls out to Yatsuha. He asks her if something is wrong. She turns to him with a bright smile and insists she's fine. Once alone, Yamato is completely flustered, thinking about how she touched him. His mind races, replaying the moment Yatsuha's hand touched his. He shivers at the memory. He stumbles into the men's restroom, still repeating her name. He leans against the wall, trying to catch his breath. Overwhelmed, he brings his wrist to his face, kissing and sniffing the spot she touched while whispering her name. He gazes at a photo of her on his phone, convinced that she is his fated woman. In the privacy of a bathroom stall, Yamato is overcome with emotion. He kisses the screen while whispering her name. He believes fate has decreed that Yatsuha will be united with him, a conviction he's held since elementary school. He recalls when she was transferring, and while Yuichi assured her they were connected by fate. Even back then, Yamato was certain she would definitely come back for him. And just as he'd always believed, Yatsuha returned. As she enters the classroom, Yamato is ecstatic, convinced she has come back to become his. He obsesses over her, thinking she has grown even cuter than before. He believes her body matured just for him, in order to be loved by him. He staggers in the bathroom stall once again. The memory of her small, weak hand on his arm is vivid. The sensation of her touch and warmth sends him trembling. He can't stand it anymore, he wants to touch her more and to hold her. The desire to completely mess her up becomes unbearable. His fantasy is interrupted by the sight of Yatsuha walking and talking with Yuichi. Seeing them together, Yamato can only glare from a distance, his expression dark. Since childhood, he remembers her getting along with Yuichi. From his perspective, Yatsuha has been mistaken. He believes she was supposed to be with him, but was carelessly friendly with that guy. The memory fills him with a grinding frustration as he deems Yuichi useless. His thoughts turn violent as he wishes Yuichi would disappear into pieces, believing then Yatsuha wouldn't be mistaken anymore. A memory surfaces of Yuichi cheerfully calling out to a lonely Yamato. Yuichi asks what he is doing by himself and invites him to play. Yamato happily accepted the invitation. Even while they played together, making a jump rope from flowers, Yamato was already wondering how he could get rid of Yuichi. In middle school, something he learned from a certain person gave him an idea. He watched as Yuichi confronted a group of bullies, telling them to stop. Yuichi identified himself and called the bullies the worst. The bullies only met his courage with scorn. From that day on, Yuichi started getting bullied. Day by day, he grew darker and more withdrawn. Yamato watched this happen with a smile. It seemed like Yuichi was about to disappear entirely. Yamato actively encouraged Yuichi's despair, telling him to kill himself and disappear from the world. Yuichi stubbornly stated that he would not die. Yamato found him persistent, like a bug. He was confident that with just one more little push, Yuichi would kill himself. He vandalized Yuichi's desk, scratching insults into it. Yamato proudly recalls how he managed to get Yuichi bullied in high school. Other students wondered why Yuichi was being bullied, finding it pitiful. A rumor spread that Yuichi was cocky on a private account, despite being top of the class. In reality, it was Yamato's fake account, where he posted arrogant messages under Yuichi's name. The bullying escalated, with students stuffing trash into Yuichi's locker. Others whispered for him to hurry up and die as he walked down the hall. Yamato watched with glee, urging Yuichi to disappear and vanish before Yatsuha comes back. Hidden in the bathroom, Yamato's frustration boils over as he punches the stall door, calling Yuichi a worthless piece of shit. He is enraged that Yuichi is still there, screaming at him not to mess with him. Yatsuha overhears and calls Yamato disgusting. Yamato screams that Yuichi doesn't understand anything about Yatsuha. Yamato screams that he knows everything about Yatsuha, even her birth, and that there is no way Yuichi could understand. He declares that her rightful place is by his side, not with Yuichi, and that it's all Yuichi's fault. His tirade is interrupted by a fellow student council member calling his name Yi. They wonder why he hasn't shown up for the student council meeting. The bathroom door swings open, and a completely different Yamato emerges, cheerfully greeting his peers and apologizing for being late. He blames a bad stomach ache, and a council member asks if he ate something off the ground again. Yamato laughingly denies doing such a thing. Yuichi and Yatsuha seem surprised by the encounter. Yamato cheerfully greets Yuichi and Yatsuha, saying it's been a while. When his council mates ask if they're friends, he confirms they are his childhood friends. However, as they walk away, his friendly mask drops, replaced by a hateful glare as he thinks to himself that they aren't friends. Yatsuha glances back with a hardened expression. She clenches her fist tightly. She tells herself it's okay and that she needs to pull herself together, knowing she cannot lose to the target. As the bell signals the next period, Yuichi realizes it's time for PA. Outside the changing rooms, Yatsuha tearfully tells Yuichi she can't bear to be separated from him. Yatsuha professes her love for Yuichi, but he gently tells her he must leave for class. She looks at him earnestly, repeating that she really loves him. She believes that as long as she has Yuichi, she would be fine even if the entire universe disappeared. Yuichi tells Yatsuha he has to go as another student enters the changing room. Yatsuha waves a cheerful goodbye and Yuichi quietly watches her leave. He stands alone for a moment before heading inside. Inside the changing room, Yuichi begins to change out of his uniform. While looking at his phone, a message compliments his knack for coming up with ideas. Suddenly, his friend Yamato enthusiastically greets him, startling Yuichi. Yuichi asks Yamato if it's okay for him to be here, away from his other friends. Yamato earnestly explains that he couldn't just leave his childhood friend by himself. Yuichi is visibly moved and thanks him. Yamato's tone changes as he asks Yuichi if Yatsuha is by herself at the moment. The question catches Yuichi completely by surprise. Yamato points out that Yatsuha is quite isolated in their class. He explains that while the others think she's cute, they also find her weird and keep their distance. The reason, he says, is because she got so friendly with Yuichi right after transferring. Yuichi is stunned by this revelation. A look of horror spreads across Yuichi's face as he processes the information. He admits to himself that it's true, though he hadn't been paying attention before. He imagines her changing her clothes alone, and then attending PE class all by herself. Yamato looks at Yuichi's devastated expression and remarks how sad it all is. Yuichi's heart pounds in his chest. Yamato adds that being alone is harder for girls and that he's worried because he cares about Yatsuha. Finally, Yamato suggests that it might be better if Yuichi didn't get along with Yatsuha. Yuichi stands frozen, absorbing the weight of his friend's words. Yatsuha walks down the school hallway by herself. She quietly wishes that Yuichi was there with her. A group of girls emerges from the changing room, chattering about how handsome Satsuki is and their excitement for basketball. The girls stop when they see Yatsuha, their expressions changing. One of them points out that it's the new transfer student. They whisper among themselves, wondering why she hasn't changed yet and deciding to just leave her be. However, Satsuki steps towards Yatsuha. Satsuki approaches Yatsuha and gets her attention. She asks if Yatsuha forgot her gym clothes and offers to borrow a set for her from another class. Yatsuha beams and thanks her profusely. She explains that she's actually skipping class because she's still recovering from being sick. Satsuki accepts this and offers to help her find the nurse's office if needed. The other girls watch the friendly exchange in silent surprise. One of the girls comments on how amazing Satsuki is. They question how she can talk so casually to Yatsuha, who they see as weird and overly familiar with Yuichi. Satsuki calmly replies that she doesn't care about any of that. She explains that she just saw the transfer student look troubled and decided to help, and that's all. The girls are impressed, calling Satsuki cool. Satsuki shows off some basketball skills, further delighting her friends. Yatsuha watches the scene unfold from a distance. Distracted, her pouch slips from her grasp. It falls unnoticed to the floor. Yatsuha turns her attention to a nearby storage area. She peers into the dark room, drawn by a rattling sound. She hears a rustle coming from one of the lockers. Reaching into her bag, she pulls out a pair of pliers. With determination, Yatsuha uses the pliers to creak open the locker. Her eyes are narrowed in concentration as she works. Yatsuha enthusiastically greets Yuichi, declaring how much she missed him. She rushes to embrace him, explaining that while she loves Pei, she hated being unable to see him. She then happily presents a lunch she prepared, inviting him to eat with her. Yuichi looks on, flustered by the sudden attention. A troubled Yuichi suggests they eat separately. Yatsuha is taken aback, asking why. She insists it would be a shame to waste the portion she made especially for him. She adds that since she went to the trouble, she really wants to see him eat. Yuichi reluctantly agrees, and Yatsuha celebrates. However, as they sit down together, they become the center of the classroom's attention. Yuichi is filled with anxiety, realizing that his presence only makes Yatsuha stand out more. While Yatsuha cheerfully shows off the octopus-shaped sausages in her bento, Yuichi overhears other students pitying her. He blames himself for her situation. His guilt intensifies as he stares at the word "die" carved into his desk. He sinks into despair, thinking it would be better if he were gone. Yatsuha notices his dark expression and asks what's wrong. Misinterpreting his distress, she brightly suggests that seeing her bento must have made him wish for more friends too. She tells him not to worry, leaving Yuichi confused. With a confident laugh, Yatsuha declares that she will make friends for him, boasting that she has gotten good at it. She reasons that if she makes friends quickly, he will be included with them. Yuichi remains doubtful. Yatsuha insists it will definitely happen, but Yuichi thinks her plan is impossible. Yatsuha gently reassures him that everything will be fine. She suggests that for now, they should just eat until they are full. They begin to eat their meal together. Yuichi admits the food is tasty, which delights Yatsuha. Elsewhere in the classroom, two girls whisper about what Yatsuha and Yuichi could be talking about. Other students comment on the homemade bento and the intensity of the scene. One girl laughs, remarking that the passion is unreal. One of the girls asks Satsuki if she isn't bothered by the spectacle. Satsuki, engrossed in her phone, coolly dismisses it as nothing important. Her friends are impressed by her detached attitude. The girls agree, recalling how cool Satsuki was during PE class. One girl recounts how Satsuki helped her carry a stack of documents, and her friends react with envy. Her friend gushes about how moved she was, but Satsuki brushes it off as a normal thing to do. As they praise her, Satsuki receives a notification on her phone. Satsuki's face is stern as she clutches her phone. She abruptly stands, announcing that a friend called and she must leave. As she hurries away, her friends wonder about her mysterious acquaintance. Yatsuha suddenly remembers she forgot something at the gym. She asks Yuichi to wait for her and stands up to leave. She quickly departs from the classroom. Satsuki rushes through the school. She is determined to reach her secret spot. She needs to get to a place where she can be alone and lock the door. Her goal is to ensure nobody will find out her secret. She thinks to herself that she absolutely cannot let her friends see this. Arriving at the gym storage area, she finds the door rattling. When she tries the handle, it opens easily, revealing that the lock is broken. The discovery stuns her. Satsuki realizes the lock has been bent and thinks this is the worst possible outcome. Realizing she's out of time, she decides to proceed. She runs to hide. She quickly grabs her bag from its hiding spot. Hidden from view, Satsuki pulls out her phone where a livestream is beginning, featuring the ultimate sparkling prince, Tenunane. Satsuki is instantly mesmerized, her face flushing with adoration. Completely absorbed, Satsuki feels blessed and thinks he is divine. On screen, Tenunane apologizes for the spontaneous broadcast and thanks his viewers for joining, making Satsuki feel even happier. Overcome with emotion, Satsuki tearfully thanks him back. As the streamer declares his love, the storage room door rattles open, revealing Yatsuha in the doorway. Yatsuha's expression is unreadable as she looks inside. In the gym storage room, Satsuki is flustered after being discovered by Yatsuha. Yatsuha explains that she was also aiming to watch a stream and even bought some food. As Satsuki listens in embarrassed silence, Yatsuha comments that the food sounds delicious. Satsuki, caught off guard, can only manage a surprised grunt. Startled, Satsuki exclaims in shock. She frantically asks what Yatsuha is doing there. Yatsuha, holding up a pencil case, calmly explains that she just came to pick up something she had forgotten. Yatsuha clarifies that she heard a voice excitedly calling for Night-chan and decided to peek inside. Mortified that her secret is exposed, Satsuki cries out in despair. However, Yatsuha gently places a hand on her shoulder, reassuring her that it's okay and promising not to tell anyone. With a curious smile, Yatsuha asks Satsuki why she was watching her favorite VTuber in a place like this. Resigned, Satsuki figures it's fine to tell the new transfer student the truth. She admits that she is a genuine otaku, and Yatsuha listens attentively. Satsuki explains that she has always loved things like anime and VTubers, but she completely hides this part of herself from her friends. Satsuki explains that for some reason, everyone sees her as a handsome and cool person. She's terrified that if this side of her gets exposed, it will destroy everyone's expectations. She doesn't want to disappoint her friends, who are such good people, which is why she hides her interests so desperately. Yatsuha listens, her expression shifting as she understands. Yatsuha softly says that must be really tough. She squeezes Satsuki's hand in comfort, much to Satsuki's surprise. Yatsuha continues, relating Satsuki's situation to her own feelings, noting how sad it is to think friends might be disappointed if they knew who you liked, and how hiding it can make it seem like you think your favorite is gross. Satsuki confesses she feels self-loathing for prioritizing her friends over Night-chan. Yatsuha points out that this must make her want to apologize. Breaking down in tears, Satsuki admits that it does, and that she feels sorry all the time. Yatsuha empathizes, exclaiming that it must be painful, and Satsuki tearfully agrees. Yatsuha pulls Satsuki into a hug, telling her she understands what she's going through. Satsuki is taken aback and asks how she could possibly understand. With a gentle smile, Yatsuha reveals that she also has an oshi, and when she imagines the situation with her own favorite, she can't help but feel the same way. Satsuki is impressed by Yatsuha's empathy. With a blush, Yatsuha reveals her favorite is Yuichi. Satsuki is dazed, recalling that Yuichi is the one who gets bullied. She asks Yatsuha if she's concerned about what others think. Yatsuha admits she's usually too focused on her oshi to notice, but she knows she stands out because she's always with him. Yatsuha's expression turns somber as she admits that standing out is sad because she wants to make friends. However, her resolve hardens as she declares she will never leave Yuichi because he is her savior. Satsuki is surprised to hear him called a savior. Feeling a bond with Satsuki, she decides that since Satsuki shared a secret, she will tell her one in return. Yatsuha quietly reveals that she doesn't have a family. Satsuki is shocked by the revelation. She explains she was raised in an institution, the Uzora Children's Care Facility, and was never able to make any friends. She remembers how she was truly alone, with no friends or family. She recalls a time when Yuichi found her by herself and invited her to play dodgeball. That simple act, she explains with a bright smile, saved her. Thanks to Yuichi, her life changed, she made friends and her days became sparkling. He is her hero. She explains it's because of him that she's able to smile like she does now. With fierce determination, Yatsuha declares that she can endure anything others think of her and will always stay by Yuichi's side. Satsuki is amazed by her conviction. She reflects that her own love for her oshi has a long way to go. She decides she should learn from Yatsuha and aim higher, wondering if reaching that level might change something for her. Satsuki suggests that even though their oshis are different, they should become oshi friends since they understand each other. Realizing she hadn't introduced herself, she tells Yatsuha her name is Sakamura Satsuki. Yatsuha's face lights up with joy and she happily agrees, saying it's nice to meet her. Later, they return to classroom 27. Yuichi sits alone, eating his lunch. He looks up as he hears chatter at the door. Yatsuha and Satsuki walk in together, with Yatsuha admiring how athletic Satsuki is. Satsuki's friends are stunned to see her return with Yatsuha. Satsuki explains to them that she and Yatsuha have become friends and she wants them all to be friends too. Her friends seem confused, questioning what she means, while Satsuki asks Yatsuha if she wants to eat with them. Yatsuha is shy and hesitant. Satsuki gives her an encouraging nod. Yatsuha then happily runs over to Yuichi, tapping him on the shoulder and announcing that she's back. Watching them hug, Satsuki realizes that Yuichi, the person who saved Yatsuha from loneliness, is an amazing person. With newfound resolve, Satsuki decides that this is not a trivial matter. She thinks to herself that this is about her friend's benefactor. She pulls a chair up to her friend's table and confronts them directly, asking why Yuichi is being bullied. As the fifth period ends, students are relieved and ready to go home. The classroom begins to empty out. Holding a piece of paper, Yatsuha steels herself, thinking it's time to get started. Yatsuha enthusiastically calls for Yuichi. She beckons him to come closer. She then turns and calls out to Yikon, who looks up in surprise. Yikon approaches and asks Yatsuha what's going on. She shows him an old photo, commenting on how nostalgic it is. Yikon agrees with a laugh. Nearby, a group of girls, including Satsuki, notices them. Satsuki's friends approach, calling out to Yatsuha. They excitedly tell Yatsuha that they want to be her friend as well. Yuichi looks on, confused by the sudden turn of events. Yikon is pleased, telling Yatsuha it's great that she's made friends. Satsuki directly asks her friends why Yuichi is getting bullied. One friend suggests it's because he's gloomy, while another finds that an odd reason. Satsuki points out the hateful graffiti on his desk, questioning if that's the only reason. Another friend begins to explain, mentioning she was in the same class as him in their first year. The friend reveals the bullying has been happening since the entrance ceremony. Satsuki thinks the situation is strange and calls it extreme bullying. At first, everyone was puzzled, and some even tried to help. However, a story spread that Yuichi consistently ranked first in all the tests. In their competitive school, this news was not received well. As a result, more and more people began to treat him coldly. Then a bad rumor spread that he got a popular boy expelled by snitching on him. The friend admits she doesn't know if the rumors are true or not. Satsuki concludes that people are just using these stories as a pretext to bully him. Her friends find her interest rare, noting she doesn't usually care about class matters. Satsuki explains that she's concerned because she became friends with Yatsuha. Her friends' hearts flutter at this caring side of her. They express their admiration for Satsuki. Deciding to act, Satsuki approaches Yuichi and apologizes for what's happened to him. Yuichi is left stunned by her unexpected apology. Satsuki's friends join her, explaining to Yuichi that they were discussing his bullying. Yuichi stares at them, still processing the situation. They explain they were talking about what they could do to help. Yikon watches, relieved and happy for his friend. Yikon interjects, pointing out how strange it is that the bullying started right after the entrance ceremony. He asks Yatsuha if she can think of anyone who might have incited the bullying. Yatsuha thinks for a moment but says there isn't anyone. One of Satsuki's friends voices her suspicion, asking if Yikon is the one behind it. Another friend immediately defends Yikon, saying he's a nice guy, while he tears the photo he's holding. Another classmate interjects, accusing Yikon of having a nasty personality. Yikon tells the boy he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yatsuha then speaks up, saying she heard something in the changing room earlier. The boy claims he overheard Yikon nagging about how the poor transfer student was isolated and that his malice was obvious. He also found it gross that Yuichi didn't even retort. He directly accuses Yikon of always acting righteous and pretending to be a good person, which he found disgusting. The accuser points at Yikon, branding him a hypocrite. Yikon lets out a furious scream. Yikon shouts back that the boy is wrong and stupid. He rants that Yuichi is the real hypocrite and that he is a genuine hero who will save Yatsuha. The others are baffled by his outburst. Someone calls for everyone to stop. Yatsuha defends Yikon, insisting he isn't the kind of person who would do something like that. She says this with a bright, confident smile. Yikon blushes, touched by her words as she turns to him and considers another possibility. Yatsuha calmly theorizes that even if he were the culprit, he would be carrying out someone's instructions. Yuichi's heart thumps as the realization dawns on him. The group watches Yuichi, who looks terrified by what Yatsuha has implied. A message on his phone reveals his panic. He thinks he's about to be caught. The message exchange shows him being told not to do anything. Yuichi sits at his desk in disbelief, realizing his scheme is impossible to maintain. A group of girls discusses the new development, with one explaining that Yuichi is being bullied because someone set him up. The first girl clarifies that while she's not entirely sure, Satsuki told her about it. Elsewhere, a group of boys discusses the situation, with one remarking that Yi was acting super suspicious and intense during their earlier conversation. His friend Yamato seems to agree, but notes that Yi is usually a good guy. Meanwhile, one of Satsuki's friends shows the others an old photo that Yatsuba had. The girls are shocked to see a much younger Yuichi, remarking on how different he looks now. Yamato confidently theorizes that Yuichi must have been outgoing, which made Yikon jealous enough to frame him. The girls agree, comparing the unfolding events to a mystery novel. Amidst their chatter, Yatsuha walks away with a serious expression, thinking to herself that everything is proceeding as planned. Yuichi is overwhelmed with distress, seemingly on the verge of a breakdown. Yatsuha approaches him, telling him she is glad there will not be an explosion tomorrow. She grabs his arm, saying she would like to dig around more but trails off. Yatsuha watches Yuichi, who has become gloomy and withdrawn. She leads the wobbling, silent Yuichi down the hallway. Yuichi is lost in his own thoughts, lamenting that he considered Yamato a friend. Yuichi feels the crushing weight of history repeating itself. He believed Yamato was his friend, but in reality he feels he was hated and betrayed once again. Yatsuha is determined that someday she will surely reach Yuichi. Seeing how upset he is, she comforts him, patting his head and telling him it's okay after such a shocking revelation. She calls Yikon awful for what he did, but insists that everything is fine now. With a bright, sincere expression, Yatsuha declares that she will always absolutely love Yuichi. Yuichi is stunned into silence. Noticing his reaction, Yatsuha gently asks if he's feeling anxious. Yatsuha tells the still-shocked Yuichi that she will prove it to him. She declares she will prove that she really, truly loves him. A crunching sound echoes from a nearby classroom. The source of the noise is Yamato, who sits seething with rage, crushing something in his hand as he calls Yuichi scum. His friends look on, shocked by his outburst. He furiously tells them to shut up and help him erase Yuichi. He feels that if things continue this way, he won't be able to correct Yatsuha's mistake. Yamato is tormented by the thought of Yatsuha being with the wrong person, believing she will follow the wrong path. In a fit of desperation, he resolves that he has to make Yuichi kill himself, but he doesn't know how to accomplish it. He glances at his phone, at a message telling him not to do anything for now. He realizes he can't count on the person who is always giving him instructions. Throwing his phone aside, Yamato concludes that he must think for himself. His heart pounds as he is distracted by the lingering memory of Yatsuha. He curses, unable to concentrate on his dark thoughts. He looks at his hand, realizing the feeling of her touch is still there. His thoughts drift to Yatsuha, small, weak and cute. He remembers touching her, how slender she felt, as if she would break if he hugged her. He is overcome with the desire to hold her quickly. He convinces himself that she is his and that she likes him too, so she would surely be happy. The overwhelming feelings make Yamato feel sick. He wobbles to his feet, deciding he needs to get to the toilet. He suddenly hears Yatsuha's voice. He immediately turns and rushes toward the sound. Looking through the window of a classroom, Yamato sees Yatsuha kissing Yuichi. After the kiss, a stunned Yuichi stammers her name. Yatsuha pulls back, flustered, and asks if he is fine now. She asks him repeatedly if he is not anxious anymore. Feeling the heat of the moment, she quickly suggests they go home and pulls him away. Yamato watches them leave, frozen in place. He is left completely stunned. His world spins, his thoughts swirling in turmoil at the sight. As they meet on their way to school, Yuichi greets Yatsuha, who seems startled. Blushing furiously, she manages to return the greeting, still flustered from their recent interactions. The awkwardness lingers as they head to school. Yuichi mentions how things have been different since yesterday, causing Yatsuha to become even more flustered. Despite her embarrassment, Yuichi finds her incredibly cute. His heart pounds with the sweet realization that she truly loves him. Yuichi reflects on Yatsuha's constant reassurance and unwavering support. He decides it's finally okay to believe in someone again, feeling certain that Yatsuha will not leave his side. Gathering his courage, Yuichi squeezes Yatsuha's hand and confesses that he loves her too. Overcome with emotion, Yatsuha looks at him with tears welling in her eyes and softly responds. Yatsuha is overcome with pure joy. After they arrive at school, Yuichi opens his locker to find a brand new pair of indoor shoes, wondering who put them there. Meanwhile, a cheerful Yatsuha greets her friends. One of Yatsuha's friends suggests they ask the teacher to discuss the bullying issue during homeroom. Yatsuha thinks it's a great idea and turns to Yuichi for his input. Though he thanks them, he seems hesitant to agree. Yatsuha quickly intervenes, suggesting it would be better if Yuichi did not participate. Her friends disagree, believing his presence is necessary. Yatsuha insists, explaining that she is certain the discussion will bring up painful topics for him. Yuichi trusts Yatsuha's judgment and agrees to wait for her in the science classroom. As she heads off with her friends, he watches her go. He reflects on how much brighter his world has become since she entered it. Yuichi reflects on how the mornings that used to be terrifying have changed completely. Today, he was able to go to school with Yatsuha without trembling. He even notes that his mother seems kinder and more emotionally stable at home. He hopes his mother will stop self-harming. His thoughts drift to the future, imagining leaving home for university. His fantasy then extends to living with Yatsuha. He quickly dismisses the idea as getting ahead of himself. He reflects on how his daily life, once filled with the despair of being bullied, has changed in an instant. He thinks she might truly be his lucky four-leaf clover. Yuichi's thought of Yatsuha being his lucky four-leaf clover hangs in the air. Meanwhile, in the classroom, Yatsuha stands before her classmates, ready to begin the discussion. As Yatsuha prepares to speak, she glances at the clock and realizes something is wrong. A feeling of dread begins to settle in as she understands Yi isn't coming. A friend asks Yatsuha what's wrong, but she dismisses the concern. Her heart begins to pound with anxiety. She stumbles, asking her friend to wait a moment as panic sets in. She tries to convince herself that he is just running late. Yatsuha runs out of the classroom and down the hall toward the science room. She tries to calm her frantic thoughts. She bursts through the door, desperately calling out Yuichi's name. Yatsuha freezes in the doorway, confronted by a horrific scene. Inside the science room, a figure stands over a bloody body on the floor, repeatedly and brutally striking it with a bat. As she stares at the gruesome aftermath, Yatsuha's world comes to a halt. Her face is a mask of pure, unadulterated horror.